August 27, 1945, Tokyo, Japan. Kenji Tanaka pressed his back against the crumbling wall of what used to be his neighbor's house, his heart hammering as the familiar drone of American aircraft engines filled the sky. For months, that sound had meant death. Now, 3 weeks after the Emperor's surrender broadcast, he still couldn't silence the instinct to run. "Papa, look!" His daughter Yuki pointed upward, her thin arm trembling. "Get down!" Kenji grabbed her wrist, pulling her close. But Yuki resisted, her eyes fixed on something falling from the B-29 bombers overhead. "They're not bombs," she whispered. "They have colors." Kenji looked up. Parachutes. Dozens of them, drifting like cherry blossoms against the grey sky. But these weren't carrying soldiers. As the first one landed in the rubble-strewn street, he saw it clearly, a wooden crate, intact, with American markings. "Stay here." Kenji approached the crate cautiously, his hands shaking. Inside, wrapped in waxed paper, were cans, food, meat, vegetables, powdered milk. More food than his family had seen in 2 years. "Is it poison?" Yuki asked, now beside him despite his orders. "I don't know." Kenji picked up a can, turning it over in his calloused hands. Why would the Americans, who had burned their cities to ash, now feed them? An old woman emerged from a nearby shelter, her face gaunt. "They're trying to make us forget," she said bitterly. "Forget what they did." Or maybe," Kenji said quietly, "they're trying to forget what we made them do." But as more parachutes descended and desperate neighbors emerged from hiding, Kenji faced an impossible choice. His family was starving. His wife had died during the firebombing of Tokyo, and Yuki grew thinner each day. Yet accepting this food felt like betraying everything he'd believed, everything he'd fought for. "Papa," Yuki's voice was small, "can we eat? Before we discover what Kenji decided, tell us where you're watching from." These stories of unexpected humanity during history's darkest hours connect us all, and we'd love to know where our dear viewers are calling home today. Kenji looked at his daughter's hollow cheeks, then at the can in his hands. The decision should have been simple, but nothing was simple anymore. The crowd around the dropped supplies grew larger. Kenji watched as Mr. Yoshida, a former Imperial Army officer, kicked one of the crates. "American tricks," Yoshida spat. "They want us weak, dependent. This is how they conquer us without firing another shot." "They already conquered us," someone muttered. Yoshida whirled around. "Who said that?" Silence. Kenji clutched the can tighter, feeling its weight. He remembered the last time he'd held something American, a propaganda leaflet warning them to evacuate before the firebombing. He'd burned it. 3 days later, his wife burned with the city. "We should destroy it," Yoshida continued. "Show them we still have pride." "Pride doesn't fill empty stomachs," said Mrs. Nakamura, cradling her infant son. The baby's cry was weak, barely audible. "My son is dying." "Then let him die with honor." Yoshida's voice cracked. "My 2 sons died fighting these monsters." "Now you want to eat from their hands?" Kenji stepped forward. "Your sons died because old men sent them to die. My wife died because we were told victory was certain." He held up the can. "I'm tired of dying for lies." "You're a coward, Tanaka." "Maybe." Kenji opened the can with a broken piece of metal. The smell of beef stew hit him like a memory from another life. "But I'm a coward who will see his daughter live." He handed the can to Yuki. She looked at him, seeking permission one more time. He nodded. As Yuki ate, tears streaming down her face, other families began opening crates. Yoshida stood alone, watching, his fists clenched. "You'll regret this," he said quietly. "All of you." That night, Kenji couldn't sleep. The food sat heavy in his stomach, not from the richness, but from the weight of what it meant. He'd accepted help from the enemy. He'd chosen survival over honor. In the old Japan, that made him a traitor. But the old Japan was ash and rubble. A knock at the door made him freeze. It was past curfew. American patrols shot violators on sight. "Tanaka-san!" Yoshida's voice, low and urgent. "Open the door. I need to talk to you." Kenji's hand moved to the kitchen knife he now kept beside his sleeping mat. It's late. Please, it's about the Americans, about what's really in those crates. Kenji glanced at Yuki, sleeping peacefully for the first time in months. He opened the door a crack. Yoshida's face was pale, his eyes wild. I found something. In one of the crates that landed near the river. Something they don't want us to see. What are you talking about? Papers, documents. In Japanese. Yoshida pushed a crumpled sheet toward him. They're planning something. The food is just the beginning. Kenji took the paper, his hands suddenly cold. In the moonlight, he could make out official-looking stamps, lists of names, locations. His name was on it. What is this? I don't know yet, but I know someone who can tell us. Yoshida leaned closer. There's a meeting tomorrow night. Underground. People who still care about the truth. Will you come? Every instinct told Kenji to refuse, to close the door, to forget this conversation. But his name was on that list, and if the Americans were tracking him, tracking all of them. Where? He asked. The next morning, more planes came. This time, Kenji watched them differently. The parachutes seemed less like mercy and more like chains, each crate a link binding them to their conquerors. Yuki tugged his sleeve. Can we get more food, Papa? Not today, but I'm still hungry. I know. He knelt beside her. Yuki, if I asked you to do something difficult, something that might mean less food for a while, would you trust me? She nodded slowly, though confusion clouded her eyes. At the distribution point, American soldiers had arrived, the first Kenji had seen up close since the surrender. They were young, impossibly young, handing out supplies with awkward smiles. One of them, a red-haired boy who couldn't be older than 20, tried to speak Japanese. Food. Good, he said, mangling the pronunciation. You, okay? An elderly man bowed deeply, accepting a crate. The American looked uncomfortable with the gesture. Kenji hung back, studying them. These were the men who'd flown the B-29s, who'd dropped the fire that killed his wife. Now they handed out canned peaches like guilty children. Tanaka-san, a woman's voice. He turned to see Dr. Sato, one of the few physicians who'd survived the bombings. You look troubled. Don't you find this strange, Doctor? Yesterday they were killing us. Today they're feeding us. Perhaps they're trying to heal what they broke. She paused. Or perhaps you're right to be suspicious. I've been asked to work with the American medical teams. They want to examine survivors, especially those who were near the blast sites in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Examine them for what? Dr. Sato's expression darkened. They say it's to provide treatment. But the questions they ask, they're not about healing. They're about studying, understanding what their new weapon did to human bodies. Kenji felt sick. They're using us. We're using each other. They give us food and medicine. We give them data, cooperation, a peaceful occupation. She looked at the American soldiers. The question is, what happens when one side stops finding the arrangement useful? That evening, Kenji told Yuki he had to go out. She didn't ask where. Children learn not to ask questions during wartime, and that lesson hadn't faded with peace. The meeting place was a partially collapsed temple on the city's outskirts. Kenji counted 15 people in the shadows, their faces hidden. Yoshida stood at the center, holding a lantern. Thank you for coming, Yoshida began. I know the risk, but we need to understand what the Americans are really doing. He spread documents across a broken altar. These papers detail something called Operation Blacklist. It's their plan for occupying Japan. Food drops are Phase 1. Make the population dependent. Phase 2 begins next month. Mandatory registration, loyalty oaths, re-education programs. Re-education, someone asked. They want to change how we think, erase our culture, our values, replace them with American ideas. Yoshida's voice rose. They're not feeding us out of kindness. They're fattening us for slaughter. Murmurs of anger rippled through the group. But Kenji studied the documents more carefully. Something didn't add up. Where exactly did you find these? He asked. In a crate. I told you. American military documents in Japanese just dropped from the sky? Kenji picked up one of the papers. The Japanese was too perfect, too formal. This wasn't written by Americans. Yoshida's face hardened. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting someone wants us to find these. Someone who benefits from us distrusting the Americans. Kenji looked around the room. Someone who wants to start a resistance movement that will justify a harsher occupation. You're paranoid, Tanaka. Am I? Kenji held up the paper with his name. Why would the Americans list me? I'm nobody, a factory worker, unless, he turned to Yoshida, unless someone told them I might be a problem. Someone who wants me here, in this room, committing treason. The temple door burst open. American soldiers poured in, rifles raised, shouting commands in English. In the chaos, Kenji saw Yoshida slip away through a back passage, disappearing into the darkness, and in that moment, Kenji understood. He'd been right about the trap. He'd just been wrong about who set it. The Americans separated them into groups. Kenji found himself in a small room with 3 others, facing a Japanese man in a clean suit, too clean for these times. A collaborator. Gentlemen, I am Mr. Hayashi, liaison for the Occupation Authority. His Japanese was Tokyo polished, educated. You're not under arrest. We simply want to understand what you were doing in that temple. We were praying, someone said. Hayashi smiled thinly. With seditious documents? Please. We're not fools. He laid out the papers Yoshida had shown them. These are forgeries, created by radical elements trying to undermine the peace. We've been tracking their distribution network for weeks. Then why arrest us? Kenji asked. We're victims of the forgery, not perpetrators. Are you? Hayashi leaned forward. Or are you testing the waters, seeing who might join a real resistance? The Americans are generous, Tanaka-san, but their generosity has limits. They need to know who they can trust, and you're helping them decide. I'm helping Japan survive. The war is over. We lost. The sooner people accept that, the sooner we can rebuild. Hayashi pulled out a new document. This is a loyalty oath. Sign it, and you go home to your daughter. Refuse and, well, the Americans have camps for security risks. Kenji stared at the paper. More words, more promises, more chains. What happens to Yoshida? He asked. Mr. Yoshida is being dealt with separately. He's a more complicated case. Hayashi pushed a pen across the table. Your choice is simple, but nothing was simple. If Kenji signed, he became what Yoshida accused him of, a collaborator, a traitor to Japan. If he refused, Yuki would be alone, orphaned, probably starving within weeks. I need time to think. You have 60 seconds. Kenji closed his eyes. He saw his wife burning. He saw Yuki's hollow cheeks. He saw the American boy trying to speak Japanese, looking so young and scared. He saw Yoshida's face twisted with hate and grief. 30 seconds. What was honor worth in a world of ash? What was pride worth when your child was dying? What was Japan worth if there were no Japanese left to remember it? 10 seconds. Kenji picked up the pen. His hand shook as he brought it to the paper. Then he stopped. I'll sign, he said slowly, if you answer one question honestly. Hayashi raised an eyebrow. You're not in a position to negotiate. Just one question. Then I'll sign and you'll never hear from me again. Kenji met his eyes. The food drops. Are they poisoned? The silence stretched. Hayashi's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes, surprise, perhaps, or respect. No, he said finally. The food is safe. The Americans are many things, but they're not poisoners. They genuinely believe feeding you will make you grateful, compliant. They're naive that way. Then they don't understand us at all. No, Hayashi agreed, they don't. Which is why people like me are necessary. To translate not just language, but intention. To help both sides survive each other. He tapped the oath. Now sign. Kenji signed. The characters of his name felt like a betrayal with each stroke. Good. You can go. Hayashi collected the paper. One more thing, Tanaka-san. Your daughter Yuki. She's 7, correct? Kenji's blood went cold. Yes. The Americans are opening schools next month. New curriculum, new ideas. I'd strongly suggest you enroll her. Children adapt so much better than adults. Don't you think? It wasn't a suggestion. It was a threat wrapped in silk. As Kenji walked out into the night, free but not free, he realized the truth. The bombs had stopped falling, but the war hadn't ended. It had just changed shape, and this new war wouldn't be won with weapons. It would be won with food, with schools, with loyalty oaths and subtle threats, with parachutes instead of bombs. And Kenji had no idea how to fight it. When Kenji returned home, Yuki was awake, sitting by the window. She'd arranged the empty food cans in a row, like soldiers. "Papa, where did you go?" "Nowhere important." He sat beside her, exhausted. "Yuki, how would you feel about going to school?" Her eyes widened. "School? But there are no schools anymore. The Americans are opening new ones. You'd learn to read and write better, maybe even learn English." "English?" She wrinkled her nose. "Like the soldiers speak?" "Yes." She was quiet for a moment, then asked the question he'd been dreading. "Would Mama want me to learn the enemy's language?" Kenji felt something break inside him. "Your Mama would want you to survive, to have a future, even if that future looks different than we imagined. Do you think she's watching us, from wherever she is?" "I hope not," Kenji whispered. "I hope she can't see what we've become." The next morning, 3 more planes came, but this time something was different. Along with the food crates, they dropped leaflets. Kenji picked one up, his hands trembling as he read the Japanese text. "Attention citizens of Tokyo, food distribution will continue for 90 days. After this period, ration cards will be issued based on cooperation with reconstruction efforts. Those who contribute to building the new Japan will eat. Those who resist will not. Choose wisely." So there it was. The generosity had an expiration date. The mercy came with conditions. "Papa!" Yuki held up a different leaflet, this one with pictures. "What's this?" Kenji looked. It showed smiling Japanese children in clean clothes, sitting in bright classrooms with American teachers. The caption read, "A new generation for a new Japan." "Propaganda," he muttered. But Yuki studied the image with longing. They look happy and fed. That afternoon, Dr. Sato appeared at his door, her face grave. "Tanaka-san, I need your help. I can't get involved in anything. They're watching me. This isn't politics, it's medical." She lowered her voice. "The Americans brought medicine for tuberculosis. Real medicine, not the useless herbs we've been using. But they're only giving it to families who sign loyalty oaths and enroll children in their schools. That's extortion. That's survival." Dr. Sato's eyes were hard. "I have 30 patients who will die without that medicine, children mostly. So I'm asking you who signed the oath, you who's enrolling Yuki, can you get extra doses? Can you help me save them?" Kenji stared at her. "You want me to become a smuggler? I want you to be human. The Americans have more medicine than they need. They're using it as leverage, as control. But if someone could redirect some supplies, they'd arrest me, or worse." "Yes." Dr. Sato didn't look away. "They might, but 30 children would live, including Yuki's friend, Hana. Remember her? The girl who used to braid Yuki's hair before the war?" Kenji closed his eyes. Hana, he'd seen her last week, coughing blood into a rag, her mother's face hollow with grief. How would I even do it? Dr. Sato pulled out a piece of paper. "The Americans store medical supplies in a warehouse near the distribution center. Security is light. They don't expect theft because everyone's too afraid. There's a window on the east side that doesn't latch properly. If someone went at night during the patrol change at 2 a.m. You've planned this. I'm a doctor. Planning is what I do." She pressed the paper into his hand. "I'm not asking you to be a hero, Tanaka-san. I'm asking you to be a thief. Just once. Just enough to save the children they're letting die." After she left, Kenji sat in the darkness, the paper burning in his pocket. He'd signed the oath. He'd agreed to play by their rules. And now, less than a day later, he was planning to break them. But what choice did he have? What choice had he ever had? At 1:45 a.m., Kenji left Yuki sleeping and made his way through the ruined streets. The warehouse loomed ahead, an intact building among the rubble. American efficiency. He found the window Dr. Sato mentioned, his heart hammering. It opened with barely a sound. Inside, rows of crates stretched into darkness. Kenji used a small flashlight, searching for the medical supplies. There, boxes marked with red crosses. He grabbed what he could carry, stuffing bottles into a bag. "Freeze!" The voice was American, but the gun pressed against his spine was universal. Kenji raised his hands slowly. "I can explain." "Save it." The soldier spun him around. It was the red-haired boy from the distribution center, the one who'd tried to speak Japanese. Up close, Kenji could see he was even younger than he'd thought. 18, maybe. "You're under arrest for theft of U.S. military property." "Please, it's medicine. For children. I don't care if it's for the Emperor himself. You broke in, you stole, you're going to jail." But the boy's hand shook as he held the rifle. "Damn it, why'd you have to do this? We're trying to help you people. By letting sick children die unless their parents bow low enough?" The soldier's jaw tightened. We're not." He trailed off, uncertainty crossing his face. "Orders are orders." "Yes," Kenji said quietly. "I've heard that before. We all have. It's what we told ourselves when we did terrible things because someone above us said to." He looked at the boy. "What's your name?" "That's not relevant." "My name is Kenji Tanaka. I'm a father. My daughter is 7. Her name is Yuki, which means snow, because she was born during the first snowfall of winter." He gestured to the bag. "In there is medicine that will save 30 children. 30 Yukis, 30 daughters and sons." "Stop talking. One of them is named Hana. She's 8. She likes to braid hair and sing songs about cherry blossoms. She's dying of tuberculosis. The medicine in that bag would save her life." Kenji took a step forward. "So shoot me if you have to, but let me leave the medicine, please." The soldier's rifle wavered. I can't just—" "What's your name?" Kenji asked again. A long silence, then, "Private James Cooper from Iowa." "Do you have siblings, James Cooper from Iowa?" "A sister, Annie. She's 9. His voice cracked. "She writes me letters, tells me about her school, her friends." "Then you understand. You understand what it means to love someone more than your own life." Kenji slowly lowered his hands. "I signed their oath. I'm enrolling my daughter in their school. I'm doing everything they ask. But I won't let children die when I can save them. I won't." Private Cooper's face twisted with conflict. "If I let you go, they'll court-martial me. Then arrest me, but take the medicine to Dr. Sato first. She'll know what to do with it." "That's not—" "I can't." Cooper looked at the bag, then at Kenji, then at the warehouse full of supplies. "God damn it. God damn this whole thing." He lowered his rifle. "Take it. Take the medicine and get out." His voice was harsh. "But if you ever come back, if I ever see you again, I will shoot you, understand?" Kenji grabbed the bag. "Thank you." "Don't thank me. I'm probably going to hell for this." Cooper turned away. "Go, before I change my mind." Kenji ran. Dr. Sato wept when he delivered the medicine. "You did it. You actually did it." "We did it," Kenji corrected. "But we can't do it again. The soldier who caught me, he let me go, but he won't twice. Once is enough. This will last months if we're careful." She began organizing the bottles. "You're a good man, Tanaka-san." "No, a good man wouldn't have needed to steal to save children. A good man would live in a world where medicine isn't a weapon." He paused. "How long before the Americans realize it's missing? They have so much, they might not notice for weeks, and if they do, they'll assume it was lost in transit or misrecorded. Americans are careless with their abundance." Kenji hoped she was right. 3 days later, Yuki came home from her first day at the new American school, her eyes bright with excitement. "Papa! We learned English words, and they gave us milk, real milk." She bounced on her toes. And the teacher, Miss Robertson, she's so nice. She showed us pictures of America. They have buildings so tall they touch the sky. Kenji forced a smile. That's wonderful, Yuki. And we sang songs in English. Want to hear? She didn't wait for an answer, launching into a mangled but enthusiastic rendition of You Are My Sunshine. As he listened to his daughter sing in the enemy's language, Kenji felt something inside him die. Or maybe it had died weeks ago, and he was only now noticing the corpse. That night, there was another knock. Kenji opened the door to find Yoshida, bruised and limping. They let you go? Kenji asked, surprised. They let me go because I'm useful. Yoshida's smile was bitter. They want me to identify other radicals, become an informant. I refused, so they beat me. Then they offered me food for my mother. She's starving, Tanaka, dying. So He couldn't finish. You agreed. I agreed. Yoshida looked at him with hollow eyes. We're all collaborators now. Every one of us. The only question is what price we sold ourselves for. Why are you telling me this? Because I need you to know, when I give them names, yours won't be one of them. You were right. About the trap, about everything. I was a fool, blinded by pride and grief. He turned to leave, then stopped. Your daughter. Keep her close. The Americans, they're not just teaching English in those schools. They're teaching children to report on their parents, to tell them who speaks against the occupation, who hoards food, who remembers the old ways. Yuki would never. Yuki is 7. They'll make it a game, make it seem like helping. And she'll do it because children trust adults, even enemy adults who give them milk and teach them songs. Yoshida's voice dropped to a whisper. We didn't just lose the war, Tanaka. We lost our children, and we'll never get them back. After he left, Kenji checked on Yuki. She was asleep, clutching a picture she'd drawn at school, an American flag with a smiling sun above it. He wanted to burn it. He wanted to wake her up and tell her the truth about the Americans, about the bombs, about her mother burning alive while B-29s flew overhead. But what good would it do? The truth wouldn't fill her stomach. The truth wouldn't give her a future. So he let her sleep, let her dream of tall buildings and kind teachers and a world where yesterday's enemies were today's friends. And he hated himself for it. 2 weeks later, Private Cooper appeared at Kenji's door in civilian clothes, looking terrified. I need your help, he said in broken Japanese. Kenji pulled him inside quickly. Are you insane? If anyone sees you here, I know, but I didn't know where else to go. Cooper's hands shook. They found out about the medicine. They're doing an investigation. They questioned me for 6 hours. Did you tell them about me? No. I said I fell asleep on duty, that someone must have broken in while I was unconscious. They didn't believe me, but they can't prove otherwise. He ran a hand through his hair. But they're watching me now, and if they catch me doing anything suspicious, they'll dig deeper. They'll find you. So why are you here? Because... Cooper pulled out a photograph. I got a letter from home. My sister, Annie. She's sick, really sick. The doctors say it's tuberculosis. His voice broke. And I'm here, surrounded by medicine, and I can't send it to her because it's military property, because of regulations and rules, and... He looked at Kenji desperately. You stole medicine to save children. Tell me how to live with that. Tell me how to choose between my duty and my sister. Kenji stared at this boy soldier, this enemy who'd shown him mercy, now begging for wisdom he didn't have. I can't tell you that, Kenji said finally, because I don't know if I made the right choice. I saved 30 children, but I risked my daughter's future. I broke an oath, became a criminal, and for what? The children I saved will grow up in the American schools, learning to forget their Japanese. So did I really save them? Or did I just delay their death? That's not an answer. No, it's not. Kenji poured them both tea from his meager supply. But I'll tell you this. Every choice we make now is wrong. The war broke the world, and we're all just trying to survive in the pieces. You want to save your sister. Then save her, break the rules, steal the medicine, damn the consequences, or don't. Follow your orders, keep your honor, and live with the grief. Either way, you'll hate yourself. That's a terrible philosophy. Yes, Kenji agreed, but it's the only one that's honest. Cooper left without taking any medicine. But 3 days later, Kenji heard that a shipment of medical supplies had been lost in transit to the Philippines. And a week after that, Dr. Sato told him that Private Cooper had been transferred back to the United States for family emergency leave. Kenji hoped Annie got her medicine. He hoped Cooper found a way to live with his choice, whatever it was. He hoped they all did. As autumn turned to winter, the food drops became less frequent. The Americans were making good on their promise. Cooperation was now required for rations. Kenji worked on reconstruction crews, clearing rubble and building new structures under American supervision. Yuki attended school every day, coming home with more English words, more American songs, more pictures of smiling flags. One evening she asked him a question that stopped his heart. "Papa, why did Japan start the war?" "What?" "Miss Robertson told us about Pearl Harbor, about how Japan attacked America when they weren't expecting it. She said it was wrong." "Was it wrong, Papa?" Kenji set down his chopsticks carefully. "It's complicated. But attacking people who aren't ready to fight is wrong, isn't it? That's what Miss Robertson said. She said Japan did a bad thing, and that's why America had to stop us." "Yuki, is that why Mama died? Because Japan was bad?" Kenji wanted to scream. He wanted to tell her about embargoes and imperialism, about how the Americans had backed them into a corner, about how war was never simple and blame was never one-sided. But she was 7, and she was looking at him with those trusting eyes, waiting for him to make sense of the senseless. "Your mama died because war is terrible," he said finally. "Not because anyone was good or bad, but because war destroys everything it touches. The Americans did bad things. We did bad things. And innocent people like your mama paid the price. Miss Robertson says we have to forget the bad things. She says we have to be friends now." "Does she?" "Yes. She says holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die." Yuki tilted her head. "What does that mean?" "It means they're erasing you," Kenji thought. "It means they're teaching you to forget who you are, where you came from, what was done to you. It means," he said carefully, "that forgiveness is important. But so is memory. We can forgive without forgetting. We can be friends without pretending the past didn't happen." "Oh." Yuki considered this. "Can I still like Miss Robertson even though Americans killed Mama?" And there it was, the impossible question, the choice that would define not just Yuki's future, but the future of every Japanese child being taught in American schools. "Yes," Kenji whispered, "you can like Miss Robertson. Your mama would want you to be happy, even if that happiness looks different than she imagined." Yuki smiled and returned to her dinner, but Kenji couldn't eat. He sat there, watching his daughter, wondering if he'd just given her permission to forget, wondering if that was mercy or betrayal, wondering if there was any difference anymore. Spring came. The cherry blossoms bloomed, indifferent to occupation and grief. Kenji stood beneath them with Yuki, watching petals fall like snow. "They're beautiful," Yuki said. "Miss Robertson says they don't have cherry blossoms in America. She says she misses them. She's been to Japan before." "No, but her grandmother was Japanese, from Kyoto." Yuki looked up at him. "Did you know that, Papa? Miss Robertson is part Japanese. She says that's why she wanted to teach here, to connect with her heritage." Kenji felt something shift inside him. Miss Robertson, the woman teaching his daughter to speak English, to sing American songs, to forget the old ways, was herself Japanese or part Japanese, a bridge between worlds whether she meant to be or not. "Does that bother you?" he asked. "That she's Japanese but works for the Americans?" Yuki thought about it. "No, she's just trying to help, like you when you got the medicine for Hana and the other kids." Kenji froze. "How do you know about that?" "Hana told me. She said you saved her life." Yuki squeezed his hand. "You did a good thing, Papa, even though it was against the rules." Yuki, you can't tell anyone about that, especially not at school." "I know." Hana's mama told us both to keep it secret. She looked at him seriously. But I wanted you to know that I know, and that I'm proud of you. Tears stung Kenji's eyes. Thank you, Yuki. They stood together, watching the blossoms fall, and for the first time since the surrender, Kenji felt something other than despair. Not hope exactly, but possibility. The possibility that maybe, just maybe, they could survive this. That maybe survival didn't have to mean erasure. That maybe his daughter could learn English and still remember Japanese. Could sing American songs and still honor her mother's memory. Could build a future without destroying the past. A plane flew overhead, not a bomber this time, but a transport, carrying supplies or personnel. Kenji didn't flinch, neither did Yuki. They'd both learned to distinguish the sounds, to know which engines meant danger and which meant something else. "Papa?" Yuki asked. "Do you think Mama would be angry about me going to the American school?" "No," Kenji said, and he meant it. "Your Mama would want you to survive, to grow, to become whoever you need to become." He knelt beside her. "But she'd also want you to remember where you came from, who you are. Can you do that? Can you learn new things without forgetting the old?" "I think so." Yuki picked up a fallen blossom. "Like these flowers, they fall, but they come back every year. They're always the same, but always new." Kenji smiled through his tears. "When did you get so wise?" "I'm 7, she said matter-of-factly. "I've lived through a war. That makes you wise." She was right. They'd all been aged by fire and ash, by impossible choices and unbearable losses. But they were still here, still standing beneath the cherry blossoms, still breathing, still hoping. The food drops had stopped weeks ago. The Americans had integrated their supply system into the occupation infrastructure. You worked, you cooperated, you ate. It was efficient, it was control, but it was also survival. Kenji had made his peace with it. Or at least, he'd learned to live with the lack of peace. That evening, Dr. Sato visited with news. "The children are recovering, all 30 of them. The medicine worked." "That's wonderful." "Yes," she paused. "Tanaka-san, I wanted to thank you, and to tell you something. I've been asked to work with the American medical teams permanently. They're setting up hospitals, training programs. They want Japanese doctors to help rebuild the healthcare system." "Will you do it?" "Yes, because I'm a doctor, and doctors heal. It doesn't matter who's paying me or what flag flies over the hospital." She looked at him intently. "We all have to find our way forward, Tanaka-san. You found yours by stealing medicine. I'm finding mine by working with the occupiers. Yoshida found his by becoming an informant. None of us are pure. None of us are heroes. We're just people trying to survive." "Is that enough?" Kenji asked. "Just surviving?" "For now, yes. Maybe someday we'll have the luxury of being more. But today, survival is enough." After she left, Kenji thought about her words. About survival and compromise, about purity and pragmatism, about the impossible choices they'd all made and would continue to make. He thought about Private Cooper, who'd let him go and then disappeared back to America. About Yoshida, who'd betrayed his principles to feed his mother. About Miss Robertson teaching Japanese children in English while honoring her grandmother's heritage. About Dr. Sato, healing under an enemy flag. About himself, signing oaths and breaking rules, protecting his daughter while teaching her to forget. They were all collaborators, all traitors, all survivors. And maybe, just maybe, that was okay. Yuki called him to dinner, rice and vegetables from the ration system, supplemented by what they could grow in their small garden. It wasn't much, but it was more than they'd had during the war, more than they'd had during those first desperate weeks after surrender. As they ate, Yuki told him about her day, mixing Japanese and English words unconsciously, creating a hybrid language that belonged to neither world and both. And Kenji listened and smiled and let himself imagine a future where his daughter could be both Japanese and something new, where she could remember her mother and still move forward, where the cherry blossoms could fall and return, Always the same, always different. Outside, another plane flew over, but this time, Kenji didn't look up. He didn't need to. He knew what it carried. Not bombs, not food, but just people. Just Americans and Japanese, all trying to survive in a broken world. And that, he thought, was enough. For now, it was enough.